I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support. Good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and happy UFO Congressional Hearing Day. That's what I'm going to call it. Welcome, you guys. This is going to be a fun day. What is going on with the music? I don't know what's happening. My mouse stuck. Now the music's all messed up. Now we're in awkward land. There we go. Music's back. Anyway, let's get the show started. We've got a killer panel. I'm not going to bore you with all the normal stuff that we do on the show, so we're just going to start because we got to get right to this. Congressional UAP hearings. This was a very cool day. Let's bring in our panel. It's Cristina Gomez. You know what? I think my computer's just lagging or something. What's going on, Cristina?
Hey there. Today was an exciting morning, and I think a great way to start the day. I mean, on my side, it was 6 a.m., but hey, it was worth it, in my opinion.
Worth it. Totally worth being up at 6 a.m. Rather B.Squidding. What's going on, pal?
Hell of a day. 50 years later is better than never, right?
Better than never. Better than never. We're going to get into it. Jimmy Church, welcome. You're like becoming a regular thing here.
You know, it's when I get the text from Cristina and she says, you know, Church, quit farting around.
Yeah.
Get over with Lou. By the way, I'm digging the 70s porn music.
It's pretty funky, right?
Yeah, that's some funky
DOS tapes.
Yeah. It's DOS tapes, baby.
That is happening. And I know who we're bringing in next, and he's really enjoying the music.
He enjoys every aspect of life. Mr. Jazz Shaw, how are you?
Wow, I was in a totally different 70s porn era, apparently, than Jimmy, but thanks for having me. Yeah, that's...
well, with that smoking jacket, sir, I feel like you'd fit right in. You're looking good. You're looking sharp.
Thanks.
Yeah, Jazz, he's speaking to you. He's not speaking to the three of us. I
didn't think he was speaking to you, Jimmy. Don't worry. I was not confused about that.
I got a Van Halen t-shirt on this glorious day. But in the green room, Lou, I just want to let everybody know that I said some things that are gone into the ether, and I know you're thankful for that. No, I'm going to repeat them. Lou looks like he's been up for about 3 weeks. How you doing, Lou?
I'm good, buddy. I mean, I was up at 6 a.m. obviously, and then I had to work for a few straight hours, and then I got home and then started rewatching the hearings, and I have no coffee. I have no Red Bull.
You know? Illegal in LA County. Wow.
I don't have the River Moon coffee, Jimmy. I don't have the River Moon coffee to get me going. But
send me your address. Send me your address. That is an easily fixable thing.
All right.
Yeah. You know, that's what I did this morning. You know what? I don't have it in front of me. If somebody has the ability to share my Twitter feed, Cristina knows all those millennial actions. The first thing I did this morning was take a picture of me making coffee at 5:30, and you gotta do it, man. And I thank the baby Jesus for caffeine.
Yeah.
So yeah, what a great day, Lou. Okay, here we go. This is my that's
what's going on with your feet here, Jimmy Church?
Now I'm embarrassed. I just embarrassed
myself. Look at that. Was this a picture on a spaceship? You got this in front of a window? What's going on here?
Oh, man.
Please tell me you are selling this photo at conventions for thousands of. I mean, I'd pay easily.
I give it 2
$2
thumbs
for
up.
this.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Stay on that photograph for a second. There's a little story behind it that's really kind of funny. Everybody's going to enjoy. I introduced Jason Quitt at Disclosure Fest like 3 years ago. A whole ton of people there. While Jason was up on stage, I walked off stage and then I snuck up. I'm way behind him in the background, and somebody snapped a picture, but I went up and did that in the background. So in the actual photo, there's Jason, full size, and I'm like this big in the background.
Your photo
and I photobombed and I cropped that, and that's the story behind that picture. It's pretty funny.
Well,
so
the first picture from the day.
Hey, that could there it is.
There it is.
That's me at 5:30 this morning.
Yeah, look, it's 5:41. It's right there on the coffee maker.
Yeah, there you go. That's legit.
Yeah.
I don't know about you people. I'm older than all of you. 5:41. I was already working. So you guys are slackers. So
and you walked to work this morning 20 miles in the snow one way.
Uphill both ways.
And what's hilarious about that is that he works from home.
Well, I do get to work earlier because I only have to go downstairs. But that's true.
No. You go downstairs, you walk 20 miles in the snow, then you come back and then you start work.
So he can feel good. Yeah.
So you can say he did it. Well,
after you all outlive me, you can laugh.
That's not happening.
Oh, man.
Well, okay, so let's get started. Let's talk about the hearings today. So this is the day we've all been waiting for. I guess let's start with first reactions from everyone. We'll start there, and then we could sort of dive into some of the things that that Schiff and Representative Carson and Moultrie and Mr. Bray, was it? Yeah, Scott Bray said. But let's start. We'll start at the top with Rather, and then we'll work our way around and end with Jazz. But what were your first impressions, Jazz?
My first impressions was Ronald Moultrie. What a guy! He's my new favorite guy in government, and I was entertained. There wasn't a lot of bombshells, but you really got to know kind of the attitudes and kind of what they're working with. So I thought it was very informative, and I enjoyed it quite a lot.
Well, what aspects of it that made you? Was it the sci-fi conventions that he goes to?
Yeah, the sci-fi, him pretty much, I believe him when he says that he's open to all hypotheses. Yeah. And I believe him when he talks about, if we did find aliens, we'd coordinate with NASA to release that. And I don't think that he would be keeping secrets. I don't think that he was, being deceitful in any of his answers. They sounded like they were telling the honest truth. And I believed what they were saying. What they were saying wasn't as explosive as what a lot of people might have hoped. But I think that I was very pleased.
I disagree. Get off my show. No, we'll get into it. Cristina, what were your first impressions?
I will say the first few minutes were better than I expected, but the things that I didn't really have high expectations, same as the June 25th report. So I was looking for the breadcrumbs and kind of thinking along the lines of, I hope this is just the beginning, that this is just the first steps. But I do believe that Representative Carson gave a very nice foundation of what this hearing is about. He brought up Project Blue Book. He brought up the AOI MSG office. And he did state that UAPs are unexplained, but that they are very real. So I feel like right off the bat, it was being treated seriously. And I think that Representative Carson did a good job to set the scene.
Agreed. Jimmy, what do you think?
Let me be painfully clear. Today, after rolling this rock uphill and certainly hoping for something like this, today I heard ET, extraterrestrials, UFOs, aliens, Roswell, Malmstrom, Blue Book, Wilson Davis, all discussed on Capitol Hill live. you know what? It was a frigging awesome day. And for those out there that feel that it wasn't enough, you haven't been in the game. You don't know what it means to myself and members of this community that have been waiting for this to happen. I don't care what the context was of the discussions. I don't care if it wasn't enough, that they should have asked for more. I understand Burchett was upset, and I applaud his enthusiasm and his attitude. So hopefully he's going to put up or shut up and take things to the next level like he is demanding. I find that all awesome. I think André Carson needs to be applauded by everybody in the UFO community for taking command of this and putting this on. It was 90 compelling minutes. 30 of them were frigging off the hook, where I was just absolutely elated. Did I want it to go further? When I hear things like I want the Wilson Davis doc brought in as evidence, right? I was just like, you know what? This is a great start. And for those out there that don't feel that it was enough, or there was shills, or it was obfuscation and it was hiding and this, you know what? It was an amazing day, period. And that's it. I'm in a great mood.
That's awesome. That's great.
I'm in such a great mood.
Yeah.
I bagged on Neil deGrasse Tyson. I just straight out of
while you were speaking, our disclosure clock almost struck Neil deGrasse Tyson. We're almost at 9 o'clock on the disclosure clock. So
I was listening a little. You know, I'm very conservative on social media. You know, I just don't go there unless it's Jazz Shaw, because I'll go at Jazz any time of the day. But I'm conservative. I don't like to open up the door and let people respond and suddenly you're in this thing. I don't like to do it. Today I didn't give a crap, you know, and I'm in that kind of mood, and so everybody's been warned. I'm ready. I'm in a great mood. It was a great day. Jazz, what'd you think?
I'm in a celebratory mood, not for all the same reasons as you. I was watching your feed, and I commented on a few of those things on Twitter. It's been a busy day for me. I was telling everybody earlier, because on our network, which is not a UFO network, it's a normie network, this thing happened, and then suddenly we had a lot of people on our radio and print networks who were like, oh crap, we have to find a UFO guy. So my phone's been ringing off the hook. I've been doing that today. As far as the hearings themselves, I thought it was a lot better. We talked about this last week than what I predicted. I was expecting a lot more pro forma stuff about, you know, well, how's it been going? Do you have the resources? Who's cooperating? And those things were covered. But boy, we had a panel that came out just guns blaring, you know, and said things I never imagined I would have heard. With all of that said, I do understand how some of the hardcore people out there that are saying, oh, it could have gone so much further, you know. Tim Burchett was understandably disappointed because he wants a lot more. He's been in all the classified stuff. But no, I think this wasn't a show for us so much. It was a show for the people that I've been trying to reach, and the people that work in mainstream media, people like Brian Bender have been trying to reach.
Sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
That was me. Did that audio leak through?
It leaked through a little bit. That's okay. But I continue, Jazz. We're good. It was just a little audio leak.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of stuff that came out that many people we've been trying to reach have never heard before, and some of us might take parts of it for granted. And even people that are familiar with the subject, there were a few new things. There were nuggets that dropped, but it made it real for a lot of people. And that's why I've been getting hit so much today. You know, people that are not in this subject. So yeah, overall, I know we'll get into all the details. I was pretty happy with it. And there were people that were not speaking up before who now, I mean people in Congress, who came out and started asking questions that, like Jimmy said, did I think I would live to see the day where we would have a sitting congressman go, before I finish this portion, I would like to have the Wilson Davis notes read into the congressional record. At that point, I lost my crap. And you go look on Twitter. I try not to be one of those people who goes all caps. At that point, I just went all caps. And I was like, the Wilson Davis memo just got read into the frigging congressional record. Are you kidding me? And I wasn't saying it because I didn't think it should be. I was just like, I never thought I would see that.
Can you imagine the yelling and screaming at the Dolan house when that happened?
I'm not going there.
Hey, really quick, I queued that up in the background. I've got it ready to go.
What do you got? What is this that you queued up here?
I think he took himself out, or you took him out.
Oh, this was so good.
I took Jimmy out on accident. I think my stream is. There you go. Sorry about that.
This
was a great clip.
Yeah, it's a great clip. This is Burchett immediately after the hearings ended. Check this out, everybody.
And for them to show that lame video when you can find all this other that's out there. And I've talked to Navy pilots are in there at the same time, Navy pilot, and that's the kind of people you need to have in here for testimony.
That video seemed to be taken from an iPhone, from an F-18.
I don't know what. An iPhone, and we've got. Sorry, I keep pointing. I'm not mad that you are. But when we have video from Navy pilots from their wing cameras, for goodness sake,
that seems
bring
to
those guys in here.
Yeah, it seems to raise a question if they've got
and by telling you that they have whistleblower protection or something, that's bogus until it's in the law. For us to just sit here and talk about it is bogus, and you really need to provide them with some sort of ability to come in here and not be persecuted and not have a blemish on their records.
They kept talking about 18 cases that seemed to baffle them, and they didn't have explanations for. Would you like to see more?
I sure would. Transparency. I do not fear the American public knowing what we have. I would sure as heck like them to see it.
So did you learn anything today?
No, ma'am. I learned that I was correct and that the cover-up will continue.
Can you talk about the...
Wow, right?
I tweeted that today. By the way, Jimmy, I retweeted that, and that was something I wrote about, and I put out a whole bunch of praise for Burchett, because what have we been talking about, Luis? What have we been talking about for the next big phono, all that? We need some sort of forgiveness program so people can come out, and we need Congress to get behind it. And right there, Jimmy just highlighted the guy who is leading the way on what I think is one of the biggest things we should be pushing for. We need forgiveness for people who are willing to come clean now and say, even if you blew a bunch of money, Congress didn't have oversight, even if you did some bad things, if you come tell us now, you get to go home. You might not have your job, but we're not going to send you to jail. Just give them that much. And I think Burchett is right on top of this.
Now, here's my take, here's my take. I'm taking over Lou's show. I apologize, Lou.
What is this?
You do that every time I've been on here with you.
But I'm fired up about this. And for those out there that want to say that today was a big nothing burger, right? And come out with those kind of statements. What we got from today was things like Burchett, where this is the movement, this is the movement forward. This is the conversation that is being stirred up. And that is, it's glorious on so many levels. And the alternative to those that say, well, nothing really happened. What's the alternative? Nothing? You'd rather have nothing? Well, I'm sorry. Today, we made giant leaps. I don't think this was like a step forward. I'm a glasses half full guy for sure, but I wasn't expecting anything today. I simply wasn't.
I take what Tim Burchett says with a big grain of salt, though, because he has previously said that there was no earth-shattering video shown in the classified briefings. So where he gets it, saying that there's a cover-up is still going on. It's really unclear to me why he thinks that.
That's the point. He knows there's a cover up.
How does he know, though? I don't think he does know.
Because he can't get to it. Dude is a
but there might be nothing there, though, right?
I don't.
And when I say nothing there, I mean, the videos that they have, they might not be as compelling as we would hope, right? Like, it seems to me that there's still a mystery going on that the government's trying to solve.
And while many people didn't.
This is my take. There is all of the evidence that you would ever want to see. There's all the video. There's everything, anything that you could imagine the government and agencies are in possession of. Congress and the Senate haven't seen it. And those agencies and those branches of the military are holding all of that stuff back. Congress is asking for it. The Senate Intelligence Committee is asking for it, and they're not getting it. Now they are understanding the frustration that this community has been going through for the last 50 years. And Burchett feels it, and he knows there's more, and he wants to see it. And yes, he says there is a cover-up, and that's coming from him. So I take it at face value, rather. That's the example that he is trying to project into the media and on camera.
Cristina, what do you got?
Well, there are several things that I want to mention. First thing, I can understand that people are considering this to be a nothing burger. But when we're comparing it to the UAP preliminary report and even that meeting of Our Future in Space, this is probably one of the biggest things that we've ever received so far. And there's one word I zoned in on during the hearing, and it was just one big keyword. And I think a lot of the footage ends up going for analysis to contractors. As soon as I heard the word contractors, I was writing in the live chat, that is the key word. And I would like to go into that with you guys. What did you think when that word popped up during the hearing today?
Well, I didn't notice the word contractors, so that's funny that you bring that up. But I did notice that one of the other departments. What's that, Jess?
No, contractors was said. I
noted
that also. I was just agreeing with Christina. I thought that was a key point.
Okay, yeah, no, but I did notice that. I believe it was Bray, if I'm not mistaken, said that they're in good working exchange with the Department of Energy, and started listing all of these different departments that have very close ties to those contractors that you mentioned. So I noticed that part of it, that's for sure.
Well, it was the strangeness that Cristina brings up. I mean, for me, for Mouldery and Bray, how they did the dance around contractors too, as well. Where, contracts means, there's some agreement between us and somebody else, and they're working for us. But if there's something else, I can only comment on the contracts that I've read. It was like crazy. It was such an uncomfortable moment for those two when they know that there's all kinds of conversations going on and agreements that don't have paper, right? And you can't talk about that in a public setting. And it was funny. You can tell it's hot in here. Contractors, what's that? Who, and it was a very interesting take. I completely leaned forward and listen to the response on that. And then I think it was Mouldery. Cristina, you can correct me on this, but I think it was Mouldery who said, look, I can't control. I don't know if there's people that just have an interest in this and that are looking at this. I can't really comment on that. And I can't control what people do if they don't have a contract. Was that Mouldery? Is that what was said? Cristina?
I believe so. But there was a lot of throat clearing going on at that time. So yes, it was definitely Mouldery. And while we're on that, let's talk a little bit about the body language of everyone. So what I noticed was Mouldery was very poised. He was showing his hands. He didn't really stutter too much. He had an upright posture. He was very confident in what he was saying. While some of his answers were kind of beating around the bush and some were very long-winded when they didn't need to be, I believe that his body language was a lot better compared to Bayer right out of the gate, right? As soon as the camera comes on Bray, excuse me, he like gets up a little bit, and he gets up a few times like this while he's reading his own script. Okay. And then when he's off the script and he's answering questions, he is saying every few words. And this is what I find so appalling, is that we are having these military officials, government officials, whose job is to communicate with people on a daily basis, yet their presentation skills, their public skills are so poor when it comes to things like this. And it leads me to other questions. For example, does Bray feel really uncomfortable? Was he not prepared? Or did he have so many other things on his mind that he wasn't able to phrase his words properly? The reason to why we say when we speak, right? It usually means I need a little bit more time to think of a word to convey my thoughts. I say so that no one can cut me off, right? So as if I'm still saying a sentence. And that is the reason to why people say it. And of course, while a lot of us say it from time to time, when you're saying it about 20 times a minute, it shocks me, and it also makes me question what's really going through his mind and what is he filtering out when he speaks to the public.
I think it's a dangerous dance they got to do. You know, like I think it's a dangerous dance that they're doing because they're trying not to reveal too much in public. They have another classified setting that so there was 2 meetings today. That's what people need to understand, and they're you know, so
see, Lou is saying right now. Obviously,
right.
He's hiding something.
I'm obviously hiding something. No, but I'm saying I think I don't know what the hell I'm saying. I'm lost. You guys talk.
Well, okay.
Oh no, Jimmy, just for once, back down. Okay, here we go. The thing, I agree with pretty much everything Cristina said, but the part we're watching over is that we had moments today that everybody sitting here pretty much knew about, but most of America didn't know about. And the one that really struck me, the last time we got together last week, and I said, and you asked, what are we expecting to see? And I was like, well, probably some pro forma stuff and questions about procedures. I was not expecting for them to come up and start talking about it, even potentially extraterrestrials and all this other stuff. I also wasn't expecting let's go to the video, Jimmy, and for them to start showing videos. We had a conference that was watched by a huge number of people, regular people, plus all the media that are asking about it now, where we had 2 people come up and one of them was like, show us the video. And they showed a video that, yes, a lot of us have seen in the background, has not been widely distributed with the metallic ball that flew past the plane. Yeah, it's been out there in the background, right? That got shown to the entire nation in front of a congressional committee. And we had the people in charge of this program asking the witnesses, do you know what that was? And we had someone honestly sit there and look into the camera in the middle of a congressional hearing and say, no, sir, we don't know what that was. For me, that was a huge moment because everybody who just operates on the basis that the government's either lying or it's our stuff or whatever. Oh, maybe it's a whale, it's a lenticular cloud, whatever. And we had somebody in charge of all these questions sitting there and going, no, we've seen some things, and here's a picture of one, and yeah, it looks really, really weird. Do you know what it is? No, we don't. I really thought that was one of the biggest moments of the entire hearing, and that's what I've been getting asked about today by people who do not follow the topic, who thought, oh, well, it's, it's this, it's that, it's nonsense. And it's like, really? These are the guys in charge, and they're like, we don't know what that is. I thought that was one of the biggest moments of the hearing for me, personally.
I thought, I took it a little differently. For me, I was listening to what he was saying, and to me, it seemed like he was using that example as to these are the types of videos we have, and this is how much little information we're working off of. And then everything else matches this in similarity and or is even less data. So I felt like it was like he was showing the American people, like, what do you want me to take from this? Like from a ball flashing by a plane, and we don't even know if it's flying by or if that's a camera effect because you're on the plane flying by it at 600 miles per hour. Like things move differently at that height and with those speeds and all of these variables. So I mean, to me, it was more of like, you know, this is where I wish a congressman would have pressed him, like, wait a second, this is not what the American people are talking about. We're not talking about these things that you don't have enough information for. Because what struck me from Scott Bray's opening statement was that since the early 2000s, we've been getting reports of these things, but it took us almost 20 years to start the task force. What took you guys so long? Like, why did it take you almost 2 decades to start a task force to start looking at this and putting the information in places where it's supposed to go so the right departments get the right information? Why did it take this long? Why are we only getting cell phone videos? like we have better stuff than this. And I think the American people can handle, especially footage of training missions, and you can give us more data without revealing sources and methods. Just for example, how about the 3 videos we have already? The Go Fast, the Gimbal, and the Tic Tac. Give us the longer versions of those videos. Give us the other planes data for those videos. So that way we can get more clarity in the American, because one of the first questions Congressman André Carson asks was to ensure the American people, us, that we're not grabbing at low-hanging fruit, that the things that are out there, the things that are being talked about, aren't just a ploy to get them distracted while you guys are doing something else. Like, I think those things were made clear. And when we get videos and responses like this from them, it just tells me, like, we're trying. Like, look how this is really hard. And it kills me because when they show the Boca video, the famous Boca video, Scott Bray says it took us years to figure out what those were. It took Mick West literally 2 days. It took him 2 days, and he had figured out that it was Boca. Like, what is going on at the UAPTF that it takes them years to figure out that that's a camera filter effect?
Well, I think they probably knew that it was a camera filter, but I think that the thing is that they then had another event that had the same visual appearance, and I'm guessing that they actually saw that and could confirm that that was, a quadcopter drone or something. So my guess is it probably didn't take them 2 years to realize it was Boca, but even if you say it's Boca, it's still unidentified until you find out what it is.
Well, if it's 2 different time periods, I think that's what took them years to figure out. But my point is that Mick West he's got one video, and it took him 2 days to figure it out.
Well, that doesn't tell him what it is. It just tells him that it's not a pyramid.
For sure.
And sure. By the way, because I hate this part of the conversation so much, I'm sorry to break in. I totally disagree with Rather. They did not come out and say, oh, that's Boca. They didn't say, oh, we've identified what the thing was. They said, just like Mick West always says.
That's not what I heard. Hold on a minute. I heard Bray say that it was a lens artifact, and that
I heard him say it could be a lens artifact. They did not offer an explanation of what it actually was.
And I think the quote was that it took years to ID. So that kind of implies that they have ID'd it.
Yeah, maybe you hear what you want to hear. Maybe I heard it a different way, but Muldery jumped in and said it was UAVs, and it was an unmanned aerial vehicle, and it was misrepresented, as
I got the impression that it was a camera filter effect that they identified to be as UAPs. That was my understanding of him using this example.
UAV. He said
UAV, correct. Yeah. But what I mean is, like, the 2 videos that they show, are nowhere near what we got in 2017. They're far less superior. So, I mean, for me, it just reinforced to me that they're kind of putting their hands up in a way and going, we don't know what to do. Like, we don't have enough data. And it's like, come on, like, yeah, you do. And I think that's where Congress showed a little bit of their lack of knowledge on the topic to me.
Well, we also need to keep in mind. They
should have been able to fire back with some of these things. Sorry, Cristina, you were saying?
No, thank you. We also need to keep in mind that there was also a private meeting as well. So it could have been very well that they're showing other videos, maybe more prominent ones, in that private closed door meeting. And you're right, these congressmen aren't familiar with the topic. They have so much on their hands already. And while this is fascinating to us, and while it should very well be classified as important, it's still in some respects very vague. So for these congressmen to really get a grasp of it, maybe in a short period of time, let's say a week, 2 weeks, a month, they're not going to catch everything. But that's where Gallagher comes in. He dropped all of those name bombs. He seemed very informed with what he was talking about, and he wanted answers. We also need to keep in mind that he had to be probably one of the youngest people on the panel as well. And you could just see that enthusiasm, that interest in his eyes.
He was pissed off.
He was, but at the same time,
I loved it.
He wants to know more about this. I think from the little that he said, and I wish he had more airtime, the little that he said, you could just tell that he believed that this is a very important conversation compared to maybe a few others on the panel that didn't really think so. And his attitude seemed totally genuine as well. And he spoke with conviction and enthusiasm, and his presentation skills were fantastic compared to a few others who asked their questions and didn't really know how to phrase their questions. While some other congressmen had, again, good questions, they didn't word it correctly. So it could have been very confusing for the average person watching this that doesn't really have a background knowledge on what they're talking about. So I feel that, yes, we definitely need more informed people asking the right questions, because there is a difference between correct questions and incorrect questions, ways that you can make someone answer the question how you want them to, and a way to ask a question and allow it to be open floor for them to answer it how they want. Gallagher did a beautiful job, and I look forward to seeing more of him in the near future.
Can I jump in? I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
I felt that I would love to hear from everybody on this. This was my takeaway. The first half of the hearing, I think that Bray and Muldery were hoping that it was going to stay defense related and sensor related and airspace related and keep it at that. The second half of the hearing certainly turned and went straight at an ET component. And the turn was when, and this for me was the highlight of the entire hearing, it was Rep. Welch that did it. And Welch comes in and he says, hey, it's a big universe, and that there may be visits here from ET, extraterrestrial life. He didn't play around. And he went straight there. And then Moultrie answers with, we're working with NASA and, about ET. And, we're certainly looking for ET life out there. And then Welch comes back with, he didn't let it go. And somebody else might have let it go. Welch comes back with, you know what? I want to know, are we going to find out about extraterrestrials and the ETs visiting this planet in the classified briefing later? And I was like, holy, whoa, slow down. He went there. And it was Crawford Moultrie that danced on his answer on that, on whether they were going to address ET later in the classified meeting. And he really did some soft shoe at that moment because it was so uncomfortable. Everybody there knew this wasn't about UAPs and the invasion of airspace with the Nimitz. It's not what this meeting and this hearing was called for. This hearing was called about UFOs. That's what André Carson tweeted. The secrecy over the last 50 years, not the secrecy of 3 videos that were shot in 2004. And this is about extraterrestrials. This is about ET. And is there something off planet that is visiting us? That's what it was about. And that was the second half of the hearing.
Well, we could play that exchange. I've got it queued up. But does anybody else want to share their thoughts on that? Rather?
I mean, I think the response was, there was nothing to suggest that there's non-terrestrial things going on in our skies. And I take them at their word. I don't think that we really have any damning evidence that's going to point to ET. What I thought was a big takeaway was I think we got a little bit of a hint why we maybe don't have these clear videos that we all want. They show that very unimpressive video, but what they did say was we're working on calibrating our sensors, and we're calibrating our sensors specifically for velocities. So that kind of makes me think that they're seeing things that are zipping around the skies, maybe so fast you can't even get a video of it that you could, see anything of. But the fact that they need to calibrate their sensors against velocities, I think, was a really interesting tell there. I don't think that they figured out what it is, but it seems like they're definitely seeing something that's darting around the skies very fast.
Totally disagree. But
what are your thoughts? Share them.
I think that there were people there who were being expected to answer some softball questions for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And when they had people showing up asking questions that could have come out of UFO Twitter, although they're very well researched and founded questions, I saw some moments where they were like, whoa, wait, this wasn't on the script. Excuse me. And I saw people that were kind of covering. I'm not saying they know, oh, we have Skinny Bob in a basement somewhere. I don't think they know that. Even if that's real, I don't think these people would know that, But I do think they got caught on their back foot a few times. And when they were answering, they're trying to give good answers. I believe that part. But I also think, I'm going to go ahead and say it. If you don't know what Maelstrom is,
right?
If you have no idea, I'm sorry, we never heard of Maelstrom. You're the person in charge of the UFO program.
That's
really?
Right.
If you have never heard, what was the other big one they mentioned? And they were like, I'm sorry, I'm losing the grip.
No, they mentioned Maelstrom, and then he mentioned the Wilson Davis documents. Those are the two things he brought in.
Wilson Davis
and Roswell.
And well, okay, everybody knows Roswell. The Wilson Davis got read into the congressional record, but the two people sitting there, do you know what this is about? This Wilson Davis? No, we have no idea what you're talking about.
That was a weird claim, wasn't it, Jazz?
Well, but I think but
I believe him.
If you've never heard of Maelstrom,
right?
I tweeted that earlier.
Yeah.
Are you really the best person for this job?
Yeah, are you the best person for the job?
Well, I don't know. Well, hold on a second. Wait a second. I don't know if it's so much not the best person for the job. He told us they've only started being aware of this since the early 2000s. This has always been very clear from the start, from almost everyone, that this is not about stuff that happened in the past. This is about stuff that's happening in the present. So
Fair enough.
I mean, I'm just saying. I understand your frustration that they don't know what Maelstrom is. Like, I get that.
They just had a press conference at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C.
But senators and congressmen don't watch that, Jimmy.
About Maelstrom.
But they don't watch that.
It's not like it's old news, though. And if you are going to step into the batter's box and take a swing in today's climate like this, nuclear facilities and nuclear missiles and Minuteman missiles and the interference that was caused possibly by a UFO should certainly be on your radar. And when you open
me questions, that's all I was trying to say. I don't want to take up the whole show.
Yep.
Those two incidents where both of them sat there and said, "What? No, we don't," and they had to tell the committee, "Well, we'll go look into that." And now we got to go feed. And I don't care what anybody thinks about the Wilson Davis memo. I have my own opinions, and we're not even going to go into it. But that's just so huge in the history. if you have two people sitting there, it's like these people that are in charge now. And if they said, no, we don't really have an opinion on that, it's not something we've looked into, I would have brushed that off entirely. I'd have been like, me too. I have questions. But when they're like, Wilson, who? And they're looking at each other like, I have no idea. Maelstrom? Do we have a place called Maelstrom?
I just,
at,
I
at
don't,
Well,
this
they,
point,
I
I was
don't.
just like,
well,
I'm not so sure about what you're saying.
Go ahead,
That's all
Rather.
I'm saying.
well, they talk
Sorry.
about, these spurious claims and things that aren't really helping, that sends them down these kind of wild goose chases. My guess is that they probably perceive things like the Eric Wilson documents and the Maelstrom as kind of that vague. I think that they're really focused on sightings from airmen or air people and trying to determine what these things are that they're currently seeing. I don't think they have a lot of time to go back and look
Yeah,
at
but
these
wouldn't they have
historical
said,
UFO
"Oh, we
claims.
saw that," but that seems spurious. We've been focusing on other things. Not, I've never heard of that. What are you talking about? What happened at Maelstrom? What's
Sure,
Wilson
that's
Davis?
fair.
I found it personally. You asked me on for my opinions. I found that part a little bit dubious, and I think Jimmy was on the same page. It's like you could have said, "No, we don't have data on that," and we don't have an official position. We haven't investigated. They were like, "What are you talking about?
Yeah.
We've never heard of this." I was like, "Really? And you're in charge of this?"
Right.
It struck a sour note with me. Is all I'm saying.
Well, I'll just say, just to play devil's advocate and stand up for the DOD a little bit, like this hearing is in a direct response to the ODNI report we received last year. That's what this hearing is addressing, that ODNI report. And the things that they're telling us at the top of this, other than the congressman, but these two gentlemen from the DOD, is that this is a safety issue and it's a national security issue. But they don't even have a director for the office yet. They haven't even renamed the office. So for me, I'm willing
Well, they
to
do have a
cut.
director for the office.
Well, but they haven't named him.
Well, he's been named, but not during that thing. Yeah.
When was he named? Because in the hearing they said that
Go
he
check
hasn't been named
Dean
yet.
Johnson. We have really good confirmation. We know the name of the director.
Okay,
But
who
we
is
shouldn't say it here, I guess. So
Why no? Tell me, who is it?
I don't even remember right now, but we've got
Okay.
3 sources already that said we have the name of the director.
Okay, well,
and they confirm we do have a director, and it's probably going to match up. But let's let that drop.
okay, no,
because
okay.
it's
Well,
not
my
right.
understanding is that they hadn't named him yet. Maybe they picked him, but they haven't named him. I guess is
No,
the thing.
in the hearing today, they said we have the new director. They just
Right.
didn't say the name.
Right. Okay. So they didn't name him. So my point being is that they're just now getting the office established. Like I'm willing to cut them a little bit of slack that they haven't, jammed the entire history of ufology in the last year to be prepared for this meeting and questions about Maelstrom. And I don't think anybody expected those questions. It seemed like that congressman was absolutely given those questions, or he knew about those incidents, one of the other. Is that fair?
You drop Wilson Davis, you're into the subject.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair to say. I'm just
Yeah.
afraid. I'm afraid that when a congressman does decide to go into the Wilson Davis documents, they're not going to find much. I do I liked part of the things that he brought in. Like I loved the Maelstrom. Like they should know about that. So now that's in the congressional record. They're going to look into it, and they might come back and say, "Hey, this is an important event. We need to pay attention to it and consider things like this as part of the discussion." But I think when they go into the Wilson Davis documents, but because there's no definitiveness on those documents one way or the other, I think it's just a rabbit hole that would probably waste a congressman's time.
I got to apologize. I'm glad you got Jimmy as a backup. I've hit the wall. I got 3 minutes left.
Okay.
So I was happy to come and join the show and talk about it. There's a lot of questions that are left. I was really happy about today.
Yeah.
Seriously. And as with anything in this subject, I think it opens up more questions than answers, but we got some answers. And I was most happy that I think a lot of the world is now going to be more interested than they were before, because it's not people on UFO Twitter talking.
Yeah.
You know, this was a congressional hearing and
Yeah.
talking about things that we all talk about. And the questions I've been getting on radio, it's like, what? Really? That was the thing? You know,
Huh.
and I think it opens up the conversation. So I thought it was a good day. And I think
Yeah,
Jimmy
no,
and I both, maybe for
I-
different reasons, we thought it was a good day. I thought it was a good day.
I thought it was a good day. I'm not saying it's not. I thought it was a great day. But I mean, we're just going through it. We have to go through the parts we like, the parts.
Sure.
I mean, like, I'm not alone in these feelings, Jazz. I hope you're not getting upset because I'm sort of saying, hey, these are the parts that are disappointing me. No. I'm just making sure, Jazz, because I mean, you're an emotional.
You always look a little upset.
I'm just checking in with Jazz
a little
Shaw.
upset, but now.
No, okay, all right. I'm just saying, like even Christopher Mellon expressed frustration with this hearing, and he said that was a frustrating hearing, as well as a reminder both of how far we've come and how far we still need to go. So,
totally agree.
To me, like, I think some of the frustrations that he's probably frustrated with are the same things I'm frustrated with. Like, to me, it seems like the DOD's like, yeah, we're doing our best. We're trying. And everybody's like, wait, no, you're not. Like, you can do way better. You can do way better. But I agree with you. This is an amazing day. It's going to lead to more hearings. I think this is only the first of, I think, many. You got to also understand there's 8 other committees with subcommittees that could call hearings that have access.
Got the Senate. We have the Senate.
And you've also got the Senate. Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different places that more hearings can come from. And I think the lack of answers, the way the Tim Burchett was pissed off, for example, I think there are other senators feeling that way privately. And I think you'll see more hearings. But with that said, Jazz, thank you for stopping by. You're a sweet man.
Thank you for having me. Always happy to do it. I thought it was a great day, and I got to do 2 more hits before I go to bed. And I'm really old, and you people are young. So thank you for having me, and let's get back together, I guess, tomorrow night to talk about Skinwalker. So see you then.
See you tomorrow. All right, buddy.
Thanks, Jazz.
All right, Jazz.
I wanted Jazz to get us goodbye in there, but here's the thing about Christopher Mellon's comments on Twitter, and that includes Burchett. I haven't spoken to Elizondo today. Hold on a minute. You guys want to have fun? Hold on a minute. Hold on. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's see.
This could be terrible. I don't know if I'd call Elizondo right now, Jimmy Church.
Yeah.
Dude, comma.
Look
what
at
the
Rather's
fuck?
face.
Question mark. Give me a call. Interesting day. Period. That's being sent to Lou right there. Okay. And let's see if he hits me back, and I'll get him on the air. We'll get him on speaker.
Just make sure you tell him what show he's coming on before you get him on the air, please.
No, you never do that. You never do that.
No, I'm telling you need to do that this time. I beg of you.
Let me go back to my comment, though. With Christopher Mellon, the way that is worded, that's done with intention. It's the same thing with Burchett, and it'll be the same thing with Lou. Nobody here is going to jump up and go, raw team. Nobody's going to relax. You have to absolutely keep the pressure on. And so by Mellon saying that it was disappointing, he's putting the message out. That wasn't good enough. And so if you put the message out, that was cool. Well, then you know what? You've got no more bullets in your gun. So you have to have that. You have to just want more and push for more and push for more. Doesn't change my attitude. My attitude is it's a great day. I know how important today was. But for those out there that are pushing for this and getting this done, and Chris is one of them and Lou is another, they are going to always be disappointed. That's it. That's the public view of this. You've got to want more. That wasn't good enough. What else do you have? Let's do this again. Let's have another set of hearings. Let's bring this person forward and this person forward. And that's the deal. That's what's behind Mellon's tweet.
Okay. I was just to say there's a clip that somebody just tagged me on Twitter, and it's Representative Gallagher and Raja Krishnamurthy. And they showed up together on Fox News. Should we watch this? Get live reaction?
Yeah, let's go.
Let me bring this up. Because somebody tagged me. It was like, you need to watch this right now. So let's see what they say. Can you guys hear that?
Nope.
No.
Okay. Let me do this because I got to share the audio. So give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. While I'm pulling this up. But what do you guys think about what Jimmy's saying there while I'm pulling this up? If you guys have any comments on that.
Yeah, I was shocked they didn't ask any of Mellon's space questions about have we seen these in space. I think he had a lot of really good questions and they weren't asked. I can see why he's disappointed. And I agree. I think that it was a big win, but yeah, got to be thirsty for more.
Indeed. All right, let's check this out. You guys should be able to hear it
today. Illinois Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, Wisconsin Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher. Representative Gallagher, I'll start with you. Did we get any closer to the truth?
Well, I'm not sure we got our questions answered, but it was positive that we can talk about this stuff without anybody being afraid of being stigmatized. And I do think DOD is finally taking this seriously. But when I ask certain basic questions about things that are in the public domain, the two gentlemen we had as witnesses seemed not to even be aware of those incidents. That was quite frankly surprising and unsatisfying. So I would say positive step forward, but we have a long, long way to go.
Representative Krishnamurthy, I guess the notion of stigmatization, right? It has played a big role. For years, people were teased who reported them, toothless folks who were drinking too much moonshine. So maybe that is a step in the right direction.
I think so. One of the most interesting things is that there were 144 of these UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, in a very short period of time. And since the official Pentagon group or task force was stood up, 400 more sightings were made. So I think it's more people reporting what they saw as opposed to necessarily the incidence of more of these UAPs happening over the course of the last year. But this is really important because we need to figure out what are these things. Are they, for instance, Russian or Chinese Communist Party latest technology, in which case we have to protect ourselves against it and defeat it.
But Representative Gallagher, it struck me that these two folks either didn't know, to your point, or were reluctant to share this information. And it also, why is it under the purview of the Department of Defense? Should that raise a red or a yellow flag?
Well, as long as those officials are getting access to everything they need to get access to in what we would call the Title 50 side, the intelligence community side, as long as they're getting the full cooperation of intelligence community officials, there's no reason why the DoD task force can't be effective. However, I'm not prepared to say to you today that they are getting that access, that they're fully aware of everything our government is doing. So we have a massive interagency bureaucracy problem, and that's why it's going to take Congress in a bipartisan fashion, not just bipartisan, but Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears fashion, pushing back on this. That's a bigger divide than Democrat Republican.
That's a serious piece of collaboration.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the old black and blue right there. But I do love the idea of this being something that it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on. Like, we're all fascinated by it. I think a lot of people do believe that it exists. And if it does, we would like to know a whole lot more. How much would you like to see the public start to push on this, Representative Krishnamurthy?
I think it was really good that we had this open hearing, quite frankly, because, we need to have transparency about, how the money that's been used to study this problem has been spent, and we need to provide oversight. And, to go to what Mike just mentioned with regard to his question, he's absolutely right. He needed an answer to his question. He didn't get it. I had some questions, including, why haven't we attempted any communications with those UAP and whether they've ever communicated with us? And the answer was no in both ways. Wow. And we've had 11 near misses in terms of collisions with these UAPs. So this is an issue that we have to tackle right away.
Representative Gallagher, your colleague just mentioned, Russia, China. We know that they've made some pretty big advances in things like hypersonic missiles, for instance. If we're seeing videos of these objects flying in a sky at speeds that nothing that we have can match, how worried should we be just from a self-defense standpoint?
Well, even if you separate the UAP incidents, even if you separate some of the most extreme incidents like the Tic Tac incident that we had Navy Top Gun pilots citing things that quite honestly, defied the laws of physics in some ways. We know that the Russians and the Chinese have made massive advancements in hypersonics. We had a Chinese hypersonic test that appeared to have caught the intelligence community by surprise last year. That's unacceptable. We are not moving nearly fast enough to win this technological and defense race, particularly with the Chinese Communist Party. We've gotten complacent in recent decades, and we subscribe to this naive belief that we could convince the communists in Beijing to be our friends. That was wrong.
Well, maybe we'll reach out to some of these UAPs and get some help there. Gentlemen, thank you both very much. Well,
that was it.
Wow, that was pretty interesting.
No, that was interesting. I mean, the thing that would segue to is the one thing we haven't talked about yet are these 11 near misses. And here's what I loved about this discussion is that it's two people on opposite sides of the aisle, and apparently opposite football teams as well, which is even a bigger deal, I think. And that was just a cool moment. Like, that was a cool moment of bipartisan, of two people from opposite sides of the aisle saying, hey, everyone's interested in this. And that's true. I mean, we've been saying that for a long time. Like, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. This is something that I think could bring people into the room. And you talk about this for a few hours, you never know what you're going to walk out of that room also having in common, so that's important. Or what do you got going there, Jimmy? Incense? What's happening?
It's hash.
It's a sheesh. it's pure Peruvian hashish.
When was the last time anybody said the word hash? And when they were, maybe about eggs.
Brooklyn 2013. Sometime around there, I'm thinking.
In the video, I was really impressed by Krishna Murthy in the sense of, I find it very rare to see government officials smiling, and right off the bat he's like, and I don't know, like it kind of made my heart warm just to see a more soft side to these people. This is a very serious topic. Their job is very serious, having to deal with people and knowing all the information and things like that. So seeing Krishnamurti smile, that little detail I think really meant a lot to me. Now, during that conversation that they had with Fox News, they were hitting on some points that people, again, aren't the regular public aren't familiar with. The only issue I had was with the host is at the beginning and at the end, he made jokes. And that is kind of where I was a bit disappointed, talking about moonshine and then trying to, we need to get answers from the UAPs and like in a more comical sense. And I don't necessarily agree with that. And I'm not saying that humor isn't a bad thing. If anything, I think having humor coupled with a serious topic is important for everyone to get on board. However, I don't think that was executed properly. But we do need to keep in mind that this is live and that sometimes you got to think on the spot. And I guess that could have been the first thing that came to mind. But the ridicule factor, I found inappropriate for this.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I don't know. I was okay with it because I think, look, people are going to have, like, to swallow this information. You're going to have to swallow it with a little bit of humor. I just think you're going to have to do that. And the thing that I did love, though, is that I didn't see any UFO graphics. There wasn't the X-Files music.
That's true.
We didn't get any of those funky intros. And we got 5 full minutes with two lawmakers on opposite sides of the aisle agreeing fervently on this thing and smiling about it and being like they had fun. Like, this was a fun hearing for them.
There was a point, nobody's brought this up yet. It needs to be discussed. It's very important. There was Rep. LaHood brought up amateur UFO groups. And he brought up a radio program called Lou Angeles on YouTube, and he brings that up, and he says, it's guys like Lou and these amateur groups that are putting out bad information. And it sounded like it was a direct crack at MUFON, in my opinion. But then he brings up, and this is crazy. This is censorship. This is 1984. He brings up misinformation, the spreading of misinformation, the spreading of disinformation, and was asking for, his words, deterrence with this activity. Now, what is he suggesting? That, if we talk about UFOs in any capacity, that it should be illegal? And I thought that was a pretty radical stance for somebody to take a crack at civilians and so-called amateurs and those seekers of truth and knowledge, and then to turn around and say that there should be deterrence applied to these amateur groups. I didn't dig that at all, and I don't think that we should just allow that to escape. That is the mindset of an elected official for the people, suggesting some type of censorship. And I'm not going radical here. I'm not. These are his words in a public forum. I'm not going to let it escape me, and I think that this needs to be addressed.
Well, with the news outlet, humor is one thing, but degrading UFO witnesses and enthusiasts as toothless moonshine drinking people, that's just wrong. And Jimmy, what you said, that was said pretty quickly, and it was used for contrast with the past and the present. But I resent 50 years of people seeking answers for those that have passed, like Art Bell, Stanton Friedman, Jim Mars, and so many others over the years. So it propagates a negative view on the past of ufology compared to the present, and it happens a lot in mainstream media UFO coverage.
It certainly does. Yeah, it certainly does. It certainly does.
I mean, yeah, I think you pointed out a great point, Jimmy. I think that was the most disturbing portion of that hearing for me. They say that individual groups are putting out info that is self-serving without telling us who they're talking about. You and I are probably going to have completely different assumptions about who they're talking about, and they're not both true. And I think it's irresponsible to make claims like that without telling who you're talking about, because it's just going to divide the community, and nothing positive comes out of that.
No, it's done with intention, rather, and you're absolutely right. I think the damage is, you think one thing, I think another. Somebody else is like, is he talking about me? Right? Yeah. And just who is he talking about? The next thing you know, you've got this civil discourse in the UFO community, and this divide, and yeah, I didn't like that word deterrence. That just this is written into our Constitution, man. Freedom of speech and freedom of the press, and that's it. And you can't ask for deterrence just because it doesn't fit your paradigm and your worldview.
And talking about intention, there is one thing that I want to hit on that happened during the hearing, and that was even shown in the Fox News segment. And that was when Schiff was talking about one specific video at about the 37-minute mark, where they couldn't even pause where the UFO was being seen.
Yeah, the entire hearing came to a screeching halt because nobody had the movie pulled up on iMovie, and they couldn't go through it frame by frame. Like that was so cringe,
painful.
But it was funny. It was funny. It was the funniest moment of the entire briefing. Hands down, that was the funniest moment. The fact that these old guys couldn't figure out their computer.
Funny / painful.
While it may have been comical for some, I really feel like it brought down the video and the entire conversation. Luckily, Fox News was able to actually zoom in on the picture, get a still shot, and even do that little highlight. So luckily, there was that, and now that is publicly available. But during the hearing, I was kind of pulling out my hair. Like, they weren't prepared, and they spent minutes trying to pause it at the exact moment. So it made me question, was it intentional? Because they should have been prepared.
Should have.
Multiple people should have had this clip ready, not just one person, but multiple people, because everything
Slow
needs to be
motion,
verified
frame.
before they share it.
Yeah.
So what came to mind is that we're dealing with intel people. We're dealing with government officials, military officials. If there was a reason behind this, in your opinion, what do you think that intention was, or that reason?
Well, like I said about that video specifically, to me, it was screaming, look at how hard we're trying to work to gather data on this. It was a blip. It was literally 2 frames. And I think if it was intentional, it was to point out the fact that, like, come on, guys, like, we don't have time for this. That, to me, honestly, that's the vibe I got, is this is not worth our time. And them playing the video and not being prepared. Like, the fact that they're not prepared tells you this is not worth my time. Like, how like you said, Jimmy, how do you not have a slow motion? How do you not have a freeze frame? How did you not edit together that so that way you could point out to the American people, which, I mean, how did you not foresee that a congressman was going to be like, can we go back to that little thing you showed us earlier? You know, it's like it feels like they don't care. Like they really don't. They're doing the bare minimum. It's like this was a book report that they knew for months that was coming. And last night they did the book report.
This morning. Yeah, they did the book report this morning on the way to Capitol Hill.
Right.
The word exchanges that were going on, is that it? Yeah, that's it. What am I looking at? You're looking at this. Where'd it go? It's over here. It just went past. Okay, can we rewind it? There it is again. I didn't see it. Is that it? Is it the glare in the window I'm looking at? No, you're going to look at this. It's coming up. And hearing this go back and forth, these grown men sitting on this panel.
It was funny, but it was telling.
Not even understanding what they were seeing, right? Was that it? Is it the glare in the window I'm supposed to be looking at? Or is it, no, it was what just went past. What went past? This. What did it look like? It's a circle. It's a circle. There's a glare. Okay, I'm looking for a glare. Yes, the glare. It was crazy. And it's embarrassing, not only for Americans. I mean, we vote for these people. That's the first thing. But the second thing, for them not to even know what they're looking at, that's the most telling part, isn't it? That's the challenge.
I think the part that's killing me.
Lou,
let
me go back to your point.
Yeah.
That's how difficult it is to see something, to capture something on video, whether it's an iPhone or not, it doesn't matter. You said earlier, Lou, I need to go back to your point. You said, this is the plane zipping past, and is this stationary or whatever? If you're going 600-700 miles an hour and you're going past something at 600 miles an hour, and that's if it's not moving against you, right? So it's that quick. It's that fast. Why don't we ever have a really good UFO video? You know what? Check this out. Lou, go out and shoot right now on your iPhone a 737 commercial jet.
Oh, it looks like garbage
at 35,000 feet.
It looks like garbage.
That's it.
But then that's my point. Why is the goddamn Navy giving us videos from a cell phone? I am tired of these fucking cell phone videos.
I know.
Like, I'm done. Stop with the cell phone videos. Stop with the night vision. Right. Where you take your phone, you put it in the night vision thing, and then I'm done with the grainy videos. I'm done with the cell phones. This is a Navy plane. Right. It's a Navy plane.
Yes. And they have.
What the hell is going on?
They have it. They have, and that goes back to my point. And I think we've all said this, even Rather, who thinks that we don't have any footage of anything good because nothing's there to be captured. Even Rather knows that the government is sitting on footage, crystal clear, real deal, data backed up stuff. And Congress and the Senate and the House, they want this footage. They're not getting it, and they're frustrated, and that's where we're at. And then we'll get to come back and do the show, Lou, and Rather's going to be able to say, "See, I told you so. I told you."
Well, you need, if you're going to do public, if you're going to do videos, sorry, Rather, and I'll let you talk. I'm sorry. But if you're going to do public, if you're going to do videos at a public hearing, they need to be better than what happened, what we got in 2017, and they need to be better than Agua Dia. If they're not, do not show me. I don't care anymore. I really could give a shit about some guy on a plane shooting something while you're traveling 600 miles per hour on an iPhone. I'm done with it. Go ahead, Rather.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that they probably, okay, what I was going to say was those 3 photos that came out for George Knapp, you know, those like the sphere and the acorn or whatever, they were telling us then that they're instructing pilots to use their personal iPhones to capture these things because they can't show us a video from the actual sensors because that stuff would then be classified and they can't publicly release that. So I'm assuming that's why they show us the iPhone cameras as opposed to any other things from the plane and whatnot. And, you know, Jimmy, to your point, you know, I think that they might not have any videos because the things that they're trying to capture just might not be very capturable on video. They might be going, you know, hundreds of thousands of miles per hour. Like it might be literally impossible to get those on camera. So I kind of think that these types of videos are the best that they have and we're going to get. I don't think that's the best data they have, though.
I mean, Bray said that in the hearing. He said, this is like most of what we have in these files looks just like this. Like, you know, they're cell phone videos, essentially, with testimony to accompany them.
And I still think that, you know, a lot of the problem here is that there clearly are a lot of buckets that are going on, right? Like, I kind of think that video that we saw is probably airborne clutter. You know, who really knows? There are obviously drones. Like the drones are a big issue. Those pyramids that are apparently doing really crazy things that we now know are drones. That's a real problem with, you know, adversarial governments having that type of information. But, you know, there still are these real UAP events like the Nimitz and the things that are just doing things that are apparently beyond our known capabilities in physics. And I think that those are the real interesting ones. And it'd be really interesting if we could, you know, narrow down all these other events and just focus on the real crazy things that are happening.
Well, if you're going to play a video like that, at least have a witness accompanying it. The very least you could do is have the guy who shot the video, you know, something. I mean, look, baby steps, right? Like, I think these hearings are baby steps. But here's the thing. The things we asked for in the big for home, one of the big things we were asking for is to kill the stigma of the discussion. And I heard the word stigma and how the stigma is dying or dead in some of these cases. And so to me, that tells me they're listening. Like little things like that. I mean, there were little nuggets where it was like, oh yeah, we asked for that. Like we asked for public hearings, we got it. We asked for less stigma, we got it. We asked for a venue where people can come and tell their stories, and I think we're gonna get it. It seems like that's where this is trending toward pilot testimony, better evidence. But you know, right now, I think this was, like Jazz said, this is a day for the normies. It's a killer day because we haven't seen this in over 50 years. But now I think we can go to Congress and ask for a few more things, in the Senate and ask for a few more things. For example, I think we need to strengthen the FOIA process. Why don't we launch an IG investigation into improving that? So that way citizens can have a say in getting some data and helping lawmakers understand this better. Because to me, it is clear as day that most of these lawmakers have no clue whatsoever about this topic, and they need to be read in, and they're being read in by their staff, and their staff, for the most part, has no clue about this topic. All they know is the stuff that we've asked for. That's what they've delivered in a way for this hearing. But we now need them to say, hey, that excuse of hiding videos behind sources and methods, what about the videos from the Cold War? What about the videos from the 80s? What about the videos from the 90s on all of these systems that don't exist anymore? There's no excuse to hide that stuff.
Well,
There's
not just that.
behind secrecy. Go ahead,
Luis, not just that, but remember on 60 Minutes, Navy pilot Ryan Graves said they were seeing these things on a daily basis. And you're telling me that they don't have anything better than these cell phone images? I mean, I call BS on that. And I bet that the smoking gun video evidence is just being held back for analysis, excuses and et cetera, et cetera. So I have to call BS on these cell phone images.
Yeah, I think we can call BS on a lot of this presentation. And I think we should, if you're going to call BS on a lawmaker, please do me the favor, thank them first for actually going through and doing this. And then ask your question or share your concern.
Absolutely.
We've got all of those ways to get in touch with your lawmakers on our website, thebigphoneHome.com. So go check it out if you want to get in touch with your lawmaker, either over the phone or through email or through tweet. Thanking every single member that showed up to this hearing today, thanking the two gentlemen, Bray and Moultrie, that showed up today, should be the first thing out of your mouth. Appreciation. And then your concerns, because we do have some concerns and we do have things that I think we could go back to the drawing board of the Big Phone Home and say, hey, we need you to press them on past cases. We need I want to know what the budget is. I want them to, they said they named the director. I haven't heard that, but then again, I was working all day. But I want to know who the director is, and I want to know what the budget for this office is. And why did they call it the AIMSOG? Such a, like, that doesn't even work. AIMSOG? But anyway, they're going to change the name of AIMSOG to something else, thankfully.
That sounded ugly, kind of like a soggy hot dog or something.
Yeah, and I'm sure people were like, what is AIMSOG?
No, that
people who I'm sure the journalists were like, a ton of journalists were like, what is that? What is he talking about?
Yeah, I had to go back and I'm like, is this a new office? I haven't heard of this, and I had to click a little bit. But to what you said earlier about appreciation, I mean, that goes without saying. Of course, we appreciate all they did today, but that was also a big humdinger for me. I mean, they have better video, and I have no doubt that. And that's why I'm calling BS on, is I know they have better video than what they provided, but it could very well have been in that closed session, what they're going to show privately.
Well, Jimmy Church, you got a show coming up and you got to get out of here.
I do. I have a show coming up, and it's such an exciting day. I could just sit here and hang out with you guys forever. But actually, yeah, I've got a show to do tonight. And I've been up since 5:30. Man, I'm going to be toast. I'm going to be toast. But anyway, great. This is a conversation that has just started. Okay. And I'm talking about in our community. The hearings were just this morning. There's so much more to unpack and to analyze. And then it's everybody that took part on Capitol Hill today. They're following up, and we'll be able to do that too as well. As soon as I get some more information about some more hearings and what is going to go down there, I'll share it with everybody. You guys are all on top of your game. You'll probably hear it too when I do. But I just think this is the first of many days to come, and I'm very excited. I'm running on adrenaline, and I'm going to jump out of here and go back to work and get ready to go live tonight. Lou, you're the best. Brother, thanks for putting up with me. Christina, you're a troublemaker. I'll talk to all of you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Jimmy.
See you soon, bud.
And I have to get going as well. I have a show coming up in about an hour. Thomas Winterton, the superintendent of Skinwalker Ranch, will be on my show tonight at 5:30 p.m. PST. And we're talking about some pretty amazing stuff that didn't get on the TV show. So catch that after this stream ends. Luis, Rather, thank you so much for having me on. A lot of what you guys said were really big eye-openers and some things that I didn't catch. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure we'll be going over this for at least the next 4 years. Like, we're gonna be talking about this hearing, but well, until we get the next one anyway. But yes, Cristina Gomez, thank you so much for hanging out and helping us break down the day. It was fun. See you soon. All right, you guys, Cristina Gomez, Rather B.Squidding. Wow,
Yeah.
thank God Lou Elizondo didn't call, right? It's like, oh man, no, this is gonna be
that would have been interesting.
It would have been interesting. Oh, who knows? Maybe it would have been a piece, a bridging of whatever. Anyway, so okay, so I think you and me are kind of like on the same page a little bit here with the hearings, and that, you know, this was awesome. Let's just put that out there. First thing out of the bat, this is awesome, and I think it's going to lead to even more hearings. And I just love kind of watching Keith Clore a little bit kind of scramble around, and people saying like, oh, there's no mainstream media coverage. I know Mick said there's no mainstream media coverage of this, and there totally is. I haven't seen what Gaddy Schwartz has done yet on the topic, but I know he had a sit down with Moultrie and with Bray. So I'm curious to know what was said or talked about in there. And I'm curious to know if he does an interview after post hearings, because again, they had a classified briefing today as well.
Yeah, it'd be interesting what people say after coming out of that.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, you guys, like, again, this hearing was a direct result of the ODNI report, and it got pushed back, from what I understand, a couple of times. I'm thinking it was probably the refugee crisis in Afghanistan that took up Congress's time, and it was probably the situation in Ukraine that took up their time. So now that those things are not gone away, but there's a time to sort of address this. And they did that. And by the way, guys, I'm saving all your super chats. I'm sorry I didn't get that. There's 440 people in this stream, which is crazy. If you haven't liked, shared, or subscribed, please do. We do a show every Thursday, and we do breaking news episodes, which is what this is. So ring the bell just in case something like this happens or whatever. So that way you know we're going to be going live. But yeah, I mean, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that you said that this was for the normies, not for us. I think it was very cool for us, but it is kind of just starting that national conversation. And to start this conversation, to actually have this conversation, you need to reduce the stigma. You need to eliminate the stigma of talking about this. And I think that that's probably the really big takeaway. Yeah, is that now
we begged for that.
Yeah.
Please destigmatize this, so more pilots have the gumption to come and speak about this. And it seems like, at least from Moultrie and I keep in Bray's position, it seems like they've solved that part of the problem. Like they are encouraging not only military service members, but commercial as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they're getting they have processes in place now to report stuff, and apparently a lot of people are taking them up on that and reducing the stigma. But I think it goes beyond that too. It's, the stigma in the media. I think Cristina was kind of right there about, talking about toothless people drinking moonshine.
Yeah.
I can kind of understand that, and it is humorous, but it would be great to get to a place where we have these conversations without that humor, and it is just, we're trying to get to the truth of the matter, and these are real issues that are worth discussing on mainstream media.
Well, the funny thing about that clip is halfway through it, I thought it was about to end. And I'm like, oh, wait, how long is this clip? And it's a 5 full minute clip. Like, that's a lot of time to talk about this topic in a mainstream sense. It really is. And so I'm going to be curious to see the reaction from both mainstream media and obviously people from within the community and people outside the community. I'm curious to know what sort of normies thought about this. They even watched it. I mean, when I tuned in to the YouTube stream, there was 22,000 people watching. That's a big live stream. I'm assuming that's probably the biggest live stream that committee's ever had.
Yeah, people usually aren't too interested in dry hearings with Congress.
Yeah, national security issues. Yeah, like this was, and again, like that's kind of the feeling I got from the people who the congressmen who were there, who were asking the questions of, like, they wanted to be there. They wanted to talk about this and some of the things, like, I mean, I'll go to Schiff, and for some reason the link you sent me rather is not working to open up D.D. Johnson's tweets. But I did mark a couple of things at the beginning here from Schiff, and it was sort of his opening statement. Sorry if the mic did something weird there. Let me pull this up because I thought this was interesting. Go go. It's at 15, what is it? 15:30. All right, so I'll start it there. Share this screen with you guys. Sorry, everyone, that you're going through this weird moment where I'm looking for video.
And the tweet there was Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who is a new director, and I think he's a PhD in sciences. So he's seems like a pretty good guy for this.
Can you see if you can find his IMDb real quick and see or not his IMDb? His
I don't think they're taking actors for this role, unfortunately.
Yeah. They're not.
They'd hire you.
That's the first place I go is people's IMDb's. There you go. But no, his you know what I mean. His I don't know what I mean, dude. It's been a long day. I'm pretty fried. But here's Adam Schiff's part of his opening remark, which I found pretty cool.
And that message needs to go out across DOD, the IC, and the whole of the U.S. government. When we spot something we don't understand or can't identify in our airspace, it's the job of those we entrust with our national security to investigate and to report back. That is why it's important that we hold this open hearing for the public to hear directly from the Department of Defense on the steps it's taking to track, analyze, and transparently communicate the work that is being done on this issue. It is also the responsibility of our government and this panel to share as much as we can with the American people, since excessive secrecy only breeds distrust and speculation. I look forward to hearing how the UAP task force is being stood up, what challenges they still face, and how this committee can make sure the task force is able to shed light on one of the world's most enduring mysteries. I thank you gentlemen for your work and be very interested to hear what you have to say. To me, among the most fascinating questions are these phenomena that we can measure. That is, instruments report there is something there. It is not the human eye confusing objects in the sky. There is something there measurable by multiple instruments, and yet it seems to move in directions that are inconsistent with what we know of physics or science more broadly. And that to me poses questions of tremendous interest and as well as potential national security significance. So we look forward to hearing what you're able to report to us today in open session. And I want to thank Chairman Carson again for his extraordinary leadership on this issue, and I yield back.
I mean, I thought that was a pretty interesting, I mean, to me, it seems like he's very much like, yeah, I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about the balloons and the buckets that have air clutter. Like, he's talking about significant questions to humanity, and those, I think I'd be curious to know, man, what these guys thought of this hearing, how disappointed they were for the public versus private. If they were disappointed, I think they'll probably have the same sort of tone that Gallagher and Raj had, Senator Raj. I don't even want to go for his last name because I know I'll mess it up. But I think they'll have the same tone of, hey, this is a start, but this is just the beginning. Like, we need more. And the fact that these guys didn't have basic knowledge of, like we said, Maelstrom, and they had never heard of the I can understand why they never heard of the Wilson David Knob. I'll be honest. I thought that was, for me, I thought that was the worst moment of the whole presentation. I did not like that moment at all. I mean, I think it's neat that it's congressional record now, but my only issue with it is when let's say a senator or congressman really dives into it, they're going to come away with this conclusion that everybody's coming away with, and that is, man, that's a cool story, but I don't know if that's true. I just don't know. I mean, there are a lot of things that say it could be. There's a lot of things that say it probably isn't.
Yeah, I mean, this office isn't researching ETs or researching the history of UFOs. So it wasn't surprising to me at all that they kind of had those answers about Maelstrom and the Eric Davis notes. I'm with Adam Schiff. I want to know about that other bucket, these things that are doing things that we can't really explain that seem to be exhibiting behaviors that, and we didn't really get much of that, but we did get that little tidbit about we're calibrating our sensors to be able to pick up things that have these velocities, calibrating them for the velocities of these UAPs, which does kind of hint to me that we're seeing some things that are going really fast. Those things in the Nimitz reports, we're probably seeing stuff that are doing things like that, zipping away at impossible speeds.
Yeah. Well, no, that's a great point, Rather. It really is, because I'm like, well, I mean, I'm sure they have some kind of instrument like that on there right now, which means that the instrument they do have isn't calibrated to pick up things that are faster than them, because I would assume they would calibrate it to the fastest known objects, and those calibrations would probably include mostly U.S. inventory, and then you'd get like China and Russia in there. But what's the point of calibrating it past that?
And it makes sense why it's also classified too. If we're picking up things on our radars that are right at the edge of what maybe surpassing what our capabilities can pick up, I can understand why they wouldn't give us the actual details of the flight characteristics.
Here's the rub, though, Rather, is that then if that's the case, that means that they have caught it on sensors, and they have seen it with other sensors. And it's especially, I'm thinking thermal type sensors, where maybe the thing was stationary and then zipped away, showing us one of the 5 observables. I think, if that happened over U.S. training grounds, we have every goddamn right to know about it, because we pay for your toys. We're taxpayers. You don't have to give us the velocity or the data, or the sources and methods of how you collected that. But if you can please show us that part of the data, and then reiterate, hey, these are the 5 observables we're discussed. These are the things that we're concerned about. So that way you can give the American people a real taste of exactly what this conversation is about. Because I think, and I'm going to play another clip here from Moultrie, I do think that this is they reiterated that, both of them, both Moultrie and Bray, reiterated the stigma, which I thought was the best part of what they were saying, but they reiterated that this is not non-human. Like, this is not, we're not going to put this is a safety issue. This is things showing up over our training grounds issue. This is a national security issue. This is not one of them said this is a this is a non-made
issue. They didn't rule it out, but they said there's no evidence to suggest that it is.
But they didn't rule it out, but they sure as hell didn't include it in the lists of things that they're looking at. So that's the issue with it, So let's get to this clip of Moultrie, because I think this is interesting, because this is exactly what we're talking about.
Analysis and reporting of UAP related data. What are UAP? Put simply, UAP are airborne objects that, when encountered, cannot be immediately identified. However, it is the department's contention that by combining appropriately structured collected data with rigorous scientific analysis, any object that we encounter can likely be isolated, characterized, identified, and if necessary, mitigated.
And if necessary, to me, that doesn't sound like something they can't handle. It sounds like the things we're seeing, we can handle. We need more data on it. I don't know. What do you gather? Because I mean, he's naming the things that they're looking at. This is what we think it is.
Yeah, my take on that is I thought he was kind of saying we should be able to identify everything in our skies. We currently can't. So we need to, continue these UAP offices, reduce the stigma so that we get more data and that we ultimately can identify and mitigate anything in the skies.
I'm dying to know what Moultrie and Bray, and now this new gentleman who's going to be Sean Kilpatrick. I'm curious to know what they're going to be asking for, what kind of budget they're looking for, where that budget will go, so to speak. I don't know how this came back up. But I think things are the office is supposed to be established by June. I believe we said June 15th, between the 15th and the 20th or 25th, somewhere around there in that 10-day window. But it was supposed to be 6 months after it was signed. It was signed on like the 24th or 25th, right before Christmas. So I'm assuming it'll be somewhere around that time in June. So the office should be established. It seems like we have someone who's, and people are going to hate this. They're going to hate that he's a scientist and a former intelligence officer. Like they're going to hate it. They're going to hate it. But this guy, Sean Kirkpatrick, essentially, I think, and I'm curious to know what you think of this. I mean, he's definitely going to be, I guess, the J. Allen Hynek of 2022.
I mean, it'll be interesting how public he makes himself. If he's, this is the first time, if he'll give any interviews, if he'll be testifying before Congress. I hope so. But yeah.
This is the opening of this article that Dean Johnson wrote. He says, I have to be able to see and metaphorically hear everything. This is a quote. I have to be able to see and metaphorically hear everything that's going on between 100 kilometers off the face of the planet to wherever we are. And right now we can't do that. And that's a quote from Sean Kirkpatrick, PhD, April 13th of 2021. And then he's got another quote here from him saying, unlike physics, intelligence is not an exact science. But like systems engineering, there's a lot of art and science mixed together. And then the last quote that he puts in here to start this article brings unconventional thinking through a diverse background to solve some of the nation's most complex and challenging problems. Change agent with deep experience in startup organizations and major organizational and management realignments. And that's on his LinkedIn. But that's part of his LinkedIn profile. So it wasn't a quote. It was a LinkedIn sort of what he does.
Sounds like a good person for the job.
It sounds like a decent person for the job, but if he's not public, if he's not going to talk to us, then I don't give a shit. Like part of his job should be answering questions to reporters, just like Kirby does. He should be the spokesperson. If he's not the spokesperson, then who is the spokesperson? This office needs a spokesperson, needs a public facing individual that is going to answer these questions. I would love to see, holy cow. You want to talk about, maybe this is something we could add in the phone home, but like they should have a Twitter account. They should have a place where citizens, individuals can report or ask questions of this department. Like that's the one thing that I kind of bummed me out was, yeah, we're talking to our Air Force and Navy pilots, and we're talking to all the branches of the military and even commercial pilots, but we are not talking to civilians. Like this is not a conversation they're even invited to. Like no one even mentioned us once, the civilian aspect of this thing. And it's going to rub people the wrong way. I understand it. I get it. I understand why they're doing that. But I'm just saying, if you want to win trust, which is according to Moultrie, they are committed to being open as possible with the American people. If that is your commitment, then you need to give us access to ask you questions and to also report things. Like, I think those are two things that are not going to hurt the conversation, because if you can cooperate military happenings with also eyewitness testimony from civilians, now you're cooking with fire. And that's just more data to the overall question, more data for us to look at.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with being able to ask questions, but, personally, I was satisfied back when I thought we were just going to get a UAP task force report every 6 months. I thought that was going to be great. And now we're getting that and semi-regular congressional hearings.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always ask for more, but
I think, honestly, once this office is established, I think we're going to get 6 hearings or 4 hearings a year. I think we're going to get quarterly hearings because, again, this hearing was coming from the ODNI report. So this hearing should have happened a while ago, but because of the office wasn't established, the law hadn't even been written when the ODNI report came out. So they needed time to set this stuff up. this is their first presentation. So that's why I'm saying, like, I'm willing to cut a little bit of slack to them not knowing about Maelstrom or not knowing about like, how do you cram the entire history of ufology you can't do that for 1 hour and a half presentation.
You kind of, I mean, if they ever are going to investigate that, I think they have to work backwards from something now. You know, if they find nukes going over our airspaces now, then I think that they'd have the impetus to go back and say, oh, this happened before. Let's try to get a pattern of it. But I don't fault them at all for not knowing about Maelstrom or not being interested in stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't fault them, only because most of their day is filled with really pressing issues. And not to say that this isn't pressing, but I mean,
and
dude, I've been looking at this stuff my whole life, and I don't know every historical moment or fact, or sometimes things surprise me all the time. So to think that, you know, Scott Bray and Moultrie are going to be up to speed like UFO Twitter on these things, I think is, I think it's just an unrealistic expectation to put on them.
And also that kind of other bucket and the potential ET UAPs are really what, you know, we're interested in. But I think that, you know, their top interest is actually the airborne clutter that, you know, near misses and our airspace being, you know, populated by junk and adversarial drones. Like, I think that the UAP and the ET hypothesis, that's probably, you know, way down on their list of things that they actually want to get to the bottom of.
Right.
And I kind of understand that, you know, they're trying to secure the skies and protect us, right? And
but not only that,
UAPs haven't been shown a threat.
But not only that, this is what they've been saying for years. This is what Christopher Bellin said. This is a national security issue, and they very much discuss this issue today like a national security issue, like a safety issue. And then they skirted around the really interesting stuff, I think partly because they're unprepared, partly because they don't know, and partly probably because they're just waiting for this new guy to take over, you know, so that he can start getting the heat of these questions. Because I have a feeling, you know, I hope the next hearing is with the head of the department at least. You know, like I want to know what you're doing. What budget are you asking for? Because these, I think, there was never a number given in the NDAA as far as what the budget is. It was just you're able to use resources as you see fit. Like whatever you need, you should be able to wrangle within the apparatus of everything that is the intelligence community. So, but it would be interesting to know, okay, like, look, I've looked at the information. I looked at what we need to do to gather this data, and I need A, B, C, D, and E. Here's the budget. Here's the spokesperson. Here's the chain of command, so to speak. So that way, just again, the more honest you are with those aspects of things, I think wins trust from us. And I want to give you the trust, but you have to show us that you've earned the trust. And right now, I think after today, I don't know if you guys bought any more trust. What do you think from the believers, let's say, or the community? Like what part? Like, do you think? I mean, I was shocked to hear that Jimmy Church was absolutely stoked with how things went today. I thought for sure it would have disappointed him because I know he wants to talk about Roswell. He wants to talk about the bodies in the craft and all of those things that we've heard about and we've seen rumors about, but nobody's ever definitively said, here it is. You know, so I was kind of taken back that he was like, you know, this was a great day. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on my feeling. Maybe the community does think this is awesome. But usually, I mean, like the reaction that we got to the ODNI report was like, everybody's like, oh, like it bummed them out. And I'm over here like, this is awesome. But I mean, I guess that's where you manage your expectations, right? Because I put my expectations super, super low. That's what I always try to do. So today, exceeded those.
Well, yeah, I mean, just having the discussion, having UAP, UFO hearings in Congress is a huge win, right? Like, hasn't happened in 50 years. It's going to happen again. You know, they didn't pour cold water on the issue. This is
right.
going to be continuing.
And like, take a bow, Lou Elizondo, take a bow, Christopher Mellon, take a bow to the guys behind the scenes who are part of that team. Take a bow. Like, this is your day. This was your initiative. You know, we were just two schmucks who came along, was like, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do this thing. Like, we've never ever claimed any sort of credit for this stuff. Like, this day belongs to them, but it also belongs to everyone. Like, this was a fun day for, I think, for skeptics. This was a fun day for believers. This was a fun day for normies, because I think they're starting to get hip to the conversation that we've been having for at least 5 years. And in some cases, people have been having for 60, 70 years, you know? And so the frustration is palpable, but we have to catch people up. And I think today did that in some good ways. But
I think, whatever you think of the ET hypothesis, I think that, you know, this has made a positive difference, you know, having these discussions in the UAP task force, you know, even if ETs aren't real, you know, this might save a catastrophic accident with airborne clutter. You know, there's real tangible positive things that are coming out of this.
Or like I said, if this movement or if this community is responsible for strengthening the FOIA process, huge win. If this community is responsible for stopping a terrorist attack because we got the government alerted to swarm drones when we needed to get them alerted to it, huge win. There are a lot of things that we can take from this hearing, put on paper, and ask Congress for without ever mentioning UFO, aliens, bodies, craft. We can ask for things now that apply to everyday Americans that have nothing to do with this topic. Strengthening the FOIA process is something that is good for everyone. Everyone. Declassifying stuff that shouldn't be classified just makes people safer and makes departments talk easier with each other. So that's good for everyone. These are the things, you know, more transparency in government is really at the core of our mission. More transparency. The more transparent, the more clarity our government brings, the more trust rope we give you guys. Like, it's a really easy equation. And I think they're listening. I'm hoping this is the topic that knocks it over the edge, you know? I don't know. I mean, we're a long way from anything like that happening, but it's cool to think about. Again,
seems like we're on the road.
We're on the road, and we're also going there together. There's no line in the sand. It's bipartisan. And that's what's great about today. Don't matter what list you've seen or what side of history you've been told you're on, you got to enjoy today. There's no rope. There's no list. There's no special access to this. Everybody got to see this. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody gets to talk about it. There's no monopoly on the topic. So that's what today is.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like an adversarial conversation. There was a couple of points where it got maybe a little heated, but it was, you know, great to see a congressional hearing where the questions kind of on the same page and bipartisan, but the people who are answering the questions seem to really want to give as much information as they, you know, could.
Right. No, I mean, I got that sense too. I got the sense that, but
I know some people disagree. I know that, you know, Cristina and Jimmy might have different thoughts.
I'm gonna play one more clip here of Bray talking about, this is where I kind of wanted to stand up and call bullshit. You know, like just be like, come on, dude, like the numbers on this don't make sense. But let's listen to what he's got to say.
Regarding unidentified aerial phenomena. Since the early 2000s, we have seen an increasing number of unauthorized and or unidentified aircraft or objects in military-controlled training areas and training ranges and other designated airspace. Reports of sightings are frequent and continuing. We attribute this increase in reporting to a number of factors, including our work to destigmatize reporting, an increase in the number of new systems such as quadcopters and unmanned aerial systems that are in our airspace, identification of what we can classify as clutter, mylar balloons, and other types of air trash, and improvements in the capabilities of our various sensors to detect things in our airspace. Almost 2 years ago, in August of 2020, Deputy Secretary of Defense Nordquist directed the establishment of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force within the Department of the Navy. The UAP Task Force was built on the foundation of the Navy's initial efforts to respond to the reports from our aviators on unidentified objects observed in our training ranges.
That's one thing right there. Why didn't he say this was a foundation found on ATIP? And I didn't mention ATIP or any of the previous programs at all in this panel.
Oh, they did though, didn't
Did
they? They asked about ATIP, and it was very unclear to me whether they were talking about OSAP, ATIP as a nickname, or Lou Elizondo's ATIP. They didn't clarify that, but I know that they definitely did mention it.
Well, I mean, this kind of like, his statement here
was built on the foundation of the Navy's initial efforts to respond to the reports from our aviators.
That's why it was built. That's why the task force was built right there. It's just funny that, I don't know. It's not funny, but
yeah.
it's just,
Well, I mean,
it's
you
weird
could say that
it
ATIP
wasn't
was caused by that too, right?
Right. That's true. That's true. I just figured they would have, in that instance, they would have. It's almost as if they were ignoring it a little bit. But I mean, I think it's important because it's the history of the program, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that the actual question where they mentioned ATIP was one of the congressmen asked him, do you know of any government programs about UFOs between Project Blue Book and ATIP?
Yeah.
And they were saying no. And I think they also said they didn't know anything before Project Blue Book, which was a little bit of a surprise because there's a lot of publicly known programs that were before Blue Book.
It just seemed like they talked about every other folder except for the folder that everybody wanted to talk about. That's what it seemed like to me. Like they wanted to concentrate on how we've destigmatized it, what we're doing to sort of build the office, who the people that are going to be in this office. I'm sure that's revealed in the classified side. Here's one thing that was very interesting, and I don't have the time mark for it, but when one of the congressmen asked about underwater UAPs, and he immediately was like, yeah, we're talking about that in a private setting. That was fascinating to me because when these things are moving like that underwater, that's a whole nother literally atmosphere like that things should not move that quickly through.
Yeah, he didn't want to touch that at all in a public setting.
At all. That was like, I thought that was probably the best question of the entire hearing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, based on the response, it definitely hit a nerve.
It hit a nerve. Like it was like, nope, nope. Next question. So I hope they sort of hit that button again when we get to the next hearing, because I think that's interesting because everybody's so concentrated on the sky aspect of this thing, when really I think we should probably be more interested in the submerged things, because things doing right angles. And here's the thing with that too, is there's no video. Like submarines don't take video underwater, so all you'd have to show is kind of some radar data to show, oh yeah, we've got things in the water doing right angle turns at Mach 4, that would be very, very interesting data.
Definitely. Yeah. Hopefully we know more soon. Maybe next NDNA, we need a underwater task force group or something.
Well, listen, you guys, we've been going for about 2 hours. And the NBA playoffs are on tonight, so I want to go watch some basketball. So the day's just getting even better for me. But I mean, we're going to be talking about this. I'm going to be going over the hearing again and just picking out moments again so we could share these moments and talk about them, because this is a big deal. And I think these are one of the moments that it's okay if we spend a few episodes going through step by step exactly what was being said in these hearings, because I think it's a big deal. And I think I'm sure we'll be able to pull different meanings every time we watch it. We got to be careful. We can't make anything definitive, but I think to analyze this because this hasn't been happening in 50 years. So
well, yeah, we talked about the
one of those
first
moments.
congressional things for decades. I think we could spend at least a couple days on this.
I think so. So when we come back on Thursday with Jane, we've got a couple things that we're doing 2 movie reviews on Thursday. One for Above Top Secret, the Stephen Greer film, and the other we're doing a review for A Tear in the Sky. We've got the director Caroline Corey coming the following week to come talk to us about that film, about her film. And I'm sure we'll be talking about this a little bit. We'll be revealing or debuting Rather's Rant, finally getting to Rather's Rant, which will be fun. And then tomorrow we're talking about the episode 3 of Skinwalker Ranch. So join us tomorrow. I have a feeling Christina will be there. Jazz will be there. Rather, you coming?
Yeah, I think I'll be there. Another thing you got to watch today, Lou. It's going to be a long day for you.
Whew, man, what a great day. A lot of stuff to watch, man.
Yeah.
Holy cow. I didn't even think about that, Rather. You're right. It is. It's going to only get better. So everyone out there, thank you so damn much for coming aboard, getting weird with us here on another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Before we get out of here, I want to say thank you to everyone in the chat. We had some super chats. Let me get to those. Gosh, I'm so sorry, you guys. Today was just a wild day. A lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm sorry I didn't get these in. But thank you. UFO Story, Majestic U Clearance. Thank you, Lord Ludacris, who says it's a shame no one asked about the 23-minute video since the Wilson Davis documents made it in. They also threw a major shade on Corbell's pyramids. They did, but they also brought up Corbell as being an information getter on this. It's the very first thing that André Carson said. Was like,
yeah, and I don't blame. I mean, I think Corbell was fed misinformation. It sounds like, and so yeah, I don't blame Corbell at all for putting that stuff out and saying what he's been saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he was saying it was alien or anything like that. You know, he's like, this is just a real video. This is real. Like this happened, and he was right.
Well, and you're saying people saying that it was pyramids, which
right.
seems like that. We know that's false now, but I don't think that's a lie.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's a lie either. But I also, yeah, it just shows like we got a long way to go as far as that kind of data is concerned, because it's just funny. It's funny. But I mean, the fact that he put that out there a year before the military even acknowledged it in a public way like that says a lot for the information he gets. But yeah, anyway, Matthew Riot says, remember when Corbell doubled down on the Boca crap?
Just did that on a UFO podcast a couple days ago.
That's the part. It seems like that's the part that's wrong is, it's Boca. And that's the part, again, that I look at these guys and I go, you should know more than this. Because if little old Mick West could figure out that it was Boca with just one video, it should not have taken you years to.
They need to hire Mick West.
I think they do. I think Mick West should be part of the task force, honestly. Like, I'm not kidding when I say that.
Yeah, that would make some people very mad, but I agree.
It would piss off a ton of people, but I tell you what, I don't think that video that popped up today in that hearing would have been there if he was part of the committee. I mean, to me, I don't know. That could easily.
I mean, I think it's still a good example of what they're working with, but yeah, I
absolutely,
agree.
Absolutely. But I'm just saying, yeah, I have a feeling it's a very debunkable video. But anyway, Event Tide. I think we learned a lot about the class. Classified
briefings based on the next round of questions.
Okay. Got it. I think we'll learn a lot about classified briefings based on it. Yeah, I think you're right. That's a good point, Event Tide. Thank you for the donation, Matthew Wright again. Last I checked, Cahill Lou gave themselves accolades for getting this done. If they were integral, were they upset, and where were they?
I think Jimmy Church gave a good answer for that.
Yeah, and I also think Lou, he's doing a show tonight on Calling All Beings. So
yeah,
I know he's got a few more appearances left. So,
and I think they deserve accolades. I'm happy that this happened, and I think it happened because of them.
Yeah, I think so too, and I don't mind that they're asking if they ask for accolades. Whatever, man. Anything we say, we're gonna get in trouble. Admiral Snack Bar, great name. When asked about crash materials, they had a carefully worded response, not in possession of the UAPTF. That's interesting. They did. I mean,
I thought they said no ET wreckage. There's a quote I wrote down.
Yeah. I kind of got that feeling too. But Dan James, $5 donation. Come on, they said they weren't aware of any programs before Blue Book. How about Grudge and Sign? And they're all in charge. Seriously? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. But they're not historians.
They're not historians. They're not there to be history experts. I think the history of this topic comes in a college course once we've solidified the topic. Then people can start learning the history of it, or at least we could start demanding people know the history of it, because now it's a college course. Anyway, Travis Roberts, $50 donation. Damn, dude, thank you. He says, bingo, Jazz. Jazz was making the point of like, this is a good day. This is a good day. And he's right. Like, this is a win for us. Like, we lobbied for this. We organized for this. And when I say we, I don't mean this show. I mean all of us. All of us did this together. And so, this is a good day. Like, and it just goes to show you that the process works. The process works. Getting in touch with lawmakers works. Today was the proof of that. Like, they asked.
We're still in a democracy.
We're still in a democracy. They asked questions that we had, and they also addressed the things we asked them to address. So it works. It works. I think those phone calls and those tweets, I think they did have an effect. They're aware of us. They know who we are. So, now it's upon us to make sure we keep the fire going. This is not the end. We have a long, long way to go. Near Earth Oddity saying, that hearing was so weak, LOL. They moved the ball forward by 0.00032%. They respect and fear our will by the same percentage margin. I think I can agree with that. But I mean, look, we moved up on the disclosure clock.
Yeah.
That's
like forward progress, albeit small.
That's forward progress. Like, we're almost at Neil deGrasse Tyson, people. Next one is Susan Goff, Stephen Greenstreet. And then once we get to midnight, we're full-blown Mick West. And also this clock went backwards the other day. Like, we more than made up for it with today's hearings. So we're
take that, Near Earth Oddity.
Yeah, take that, Near Earth Oddity.
But thanks for the $5.
Disclosure clock. You take that disclosure clock as proof that we're on our way. B-Rye 3D says, the unidentified celebrity Rue, you can have a local member of Congress on here to coach them in some questions.
I would love to do that.
All I would say,
any Congress
all I'm gonna say is, if I'm asking Twitter a question, there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. Trust me when I tell you, I have people on the inside now too that are in DC that are doing some pretty cool things. And when I ask a question on Twitter, very, very Elizondo answer there. But when I ask a question on Twitter, just pay attention to it and try to answer it, because you never know who might see it. That's all I'm going to say. So thank you for that little comment there. James Doyle, thank you for the donation. Lou, thanks for the discussion. Also, Celtics at 7. Get that out of here, James Doyle. Hell no. Heat and 5. Swink McLeod for coffee. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Music says, Lou Angeles, rather disclosure tonight. Not them. Had an epic UAP video debuted last night. Regardless of how you feel, if you're a part of the UFO UAP movement, this is something you have to see for yourself. I promise I'll check it out. But
I'll check it out.
I'll be honest to you, I think my expectations when it comes to that channel are as low as you could possibly get. But I'll do you the solid, because you said you reached out to us, you gave us a donation. I will ask it. I will check it out. G West says, it doesn't bother me at all that they don't know about UFO lore. The only thing I care about is what we have on camera, not old UFO ghost stories. Yeah, got
to work backwards, I think, from something real.
I think so too. Then Jean-Francois Chalabois with a $69.99 donation. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you being around here and supporting the show. Thank you. Well, that's it. I hope I didn't miss any other super chats or anything like that. If I did, I truly apologize, you guys, but don't worry about it. This is not the last day we will be talking about this. So for Rather B.Squidding, I'm your host, Luis Jimenez. Thank you for tuning in again. We'll see you guys tomorrow for our Skinwalker review. Peace. I'm going to tell y'all right now, all of these wonderful people would not be here without Patreon supporters like you. If you enjoy credible news, reviews, and commentary on UFOs and UAPs 5 days a week, you want to support this show. What's your name? Marty. Marty, look how easy this is, Marty. Pick up your phone. Boom! You're a Patreon member. I mean, look, it's so easy. You just click the link, which is right here. Just for $1 a month, you can support this show. Just fill out the information and pledge what's comfortable for you. It could be $1, $5, $10, or who knows. Just support.